Hi everyone, this is William from the Headphone Experience, and I'm here tonight with my first impressions of the Ifi Zen Can. Not to be confused with the Ifi Zen DAC, which I did a review of a few weeks ago. This is the Zen Can. The difference is the Zen DAC is a combination DAC and headphone amp, where the Zen Can is just a headphone amp in itself, no DAC in this one. This is made by Ifi Audio, and they're out of Southport, UK, and they loaned this unit to me for review. And basically this is a fully balanced headphone amp, and it has three inputs. That would be RCA inputs, a 3.5 millimeter input, and a 4.4 millimeter Pentacon input. There are no digital inputs on this because it is not a DAC, it's just an amp. It has three outputs, which would be your 6.3 millimeter single-ended headphone output, your 4.4 millimeter Pentacon balanced headphone output, and on the rear is another 4.4 millimeter Pentacon output, which would be to connect this to another amp if you wanted to. The power rating, according to Ifi, the single-ended output, the power is rated at 1600 milliwatts into 32 ohms, and from the balanced output, it's rated at 1890 milliwatts into 64 ohms. So most headphone amps would double the power, dropping from 64 ohms to 32 ohms, and that would be close to 4 watts per channel that this thing is putting out at 32 watts, if the math works out, if that's the case with this headphone amp. But in the few days I've had this, I can assure you this thing does have a lot of power. The total harmonic distortion is rated at 0.0007%, and that's from the balanced output, and from the single-ended output it's rated at 0.006%. The signal-to-noise ratio is rated at 120 decibels from the balanced output and 118 decibels from the single-ended headphone output. There are 4 gain settings on this amp, and those are 0 decibels, 6 decibels, 12 decibels, and 18 decibels of gain. The size of this unit is 6.2 inches wide. It's 4.6 inches deep from front to back, and that would include the volume knob, and it's about 1.4 inches tall. Weighs in at 515 grams according to Ifi, which works out to about 1.14 pounds. This does have a couple of interesting features. One is X-Bass, which is sort of a bass boost, and which is meant for IEMs and some of your, like over-the-ear headphones and things that lack bass. And then it also has what's called 3D, which is a basically it creates a three-dimensional effect to make it sound more like you're listening to speakers instead of headphones. And I'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. My source for this is I was using the Zen DAC, and I reviewed the Zen DAC a few weeks ago, and I liked it so much that I decided to buy it. So I'm using that as my source. So I'm running from my computer through a USB input into the Zen DAC, and then running the balanced output from the Zen DAC to the Zen Can. And I did want to show you this very nice cable that Ifi sent me. Does not come with the Zen Can, but I believe it's about a $69 cable. But both ends are 4.4 millimeter Pentacon, and it works great for connecting the Zen DAC to the Zen Can. You can either set them side by side or on top of each other. It's the right length to do that. The Zen Can uses a 5-volt DC power supply, and that is a separate it plugs in, and then the cable plugs into the back of this. I did want to give you a close-up look at this unit. Look at this a little bit closer here. Starting out on this side, you've got your power on and off. Then you've got your input here, which cycles through the three inputs, which would be your RCA, 3.5 millimeter and 4.4 millimeter balanced inputs. Then you've got your gain button, which cycles through the 4 gain settings. You've got your volume control. You've got your 6.3 millimeter headphone output, your balanced 4.4 millimeter Pentagon headphone output, and then this button here is for your bass boost and your 3D effect. And the way it works is if you push it once, it kicks on the bass boost. If you push it a second time, the bass boost goes off, but the 3D effect comes on. If you push it a third time, then it has both the 3D effect and the bass. You can run them both at the same time. And then if you push it a fourth time, it goes back to neutral with neither the 3D or the bass boost. On the rear of this unit, you have your 3 inputs, which is your balanced 4.4 millimeter, your 3.5 millimeter single-ended, and your RCA inputs. And then you've got a 4.4 millimeter balanced output if you want to connect it to another amp. And then you've got your 5 volt DC power input here. The first thing that really jumped out about this amp to me was the 4 different gain settings on the volume, or on your, well, not really your volume, but your gain, your amplification. It has 4 different settings, which I don't think I've seen another amp yet with 4. I've seen a couple with 2, a couple with 3, but anyway, like I said earlier, it's either 0, 6, 12, or 18 decibels of gain. And I found with this, basically compared to the Zen DAC, that has 2 gain settings, and they would be pretty equivalent to the first 2 on this, and then the second 2 are beyond what the Zen DAC has. It has a lot more power, and this thing with so many gain settings, it's great for anything from the most sensitive IEMs all the way up to the most power hungry headphone I have right now would be the Hi-Fi Man HE560, and it does require a lot of power to sound good. The Zen DAC did a pretty decent job, but didn't bring it quite to its full potential. This amp seems to do that. In fact, I didn't even need to go to the 4th setting to get pretty good volume and pretty good control with the HE560. And at the 4th level on the gain setting, this thing has plenty of power for that very hard to drive headphone. So I'm very impressed with the power out of this. I did want to mention, or I wanted to talk to you a minute about the single-ended versus balanced outputs of this. And obviously you've got your 6.3 millimeter single-ended output or your 4.4 millimeter. When I reviewed the Zen DAC, it seemed to me that it was obvious that it did sound better from the balanced output. And in most cases, or probably all cases, if an amp is designed as balanced, it's probably going to sound better from its balanced output. That was the case with the Zen DAC, and it seems to be the case with this as well. There's no doubt in my mind that it sounds better from the balanced output. Not only does it have more power, quite a bit more power, about really over double the wattage from your balanced output, but it seems to have a wider sound stage with more depth and more layering. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing the difference. So it's a pretty significant difference. So if you are thinking about investing in this, you're probably going to want to invest in a 4.4 millimeter balanced cable for your headphone, because you will get better sound from the balanced output. The X-Bass feature is it gives it a bit of a boost in the bass, and it is nice with IEMs. With most full-size headphones, it's a little bit too much for me. I'm not really a bass head. If you are a bass head, you may want to use it with full-size headphones. But for me, I like pretty much neutral headphones with maybe a slight boost in the bass, and this is a little bit too much for me with the larger headphones. But like I said, with small, like on-the-ear headphones and IEMs, it's pretty cool having the X bass boost. As far as the 3D effect, I don't have a whole lot of time in on this yet. I've only I've had this about 6 days now, and I put a few hours in on it, and I have experimented with the 3D effect a little bit, and it's kind of subtle. It's not a huge difference, but there is a difference, and what I'm hearing so far is it seems to set the vocals back a little bit further away, which creates a little bit more sense of depth. And then I'm hearing some of the other sounds are kind of moving out a little bit in width, actually. So it's creating a little bit larger sound stage, and gives it a little bit more depth. So it is interesting. It's subtle. It's not a huge difference. But I think that you know, a 3D effect, if it's too much, it can kind of, you know, distort the sound and mess it up. So I think they stuck with subtle and with no, you know, no negative effects to the sound. But from the balanced output, the 3D effect seems to be a little bit more pronounced to me. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to spend some more time with this. Anyway, one thing that I did notice about this headphone this headphone amp right away that really impresses me is you can turn this on and off with your headphones plugged in and on your head, and you will hear absolutely no click, no pop, nothing. It's dead quiet when you turn the amp on and off with your headphones on. And you know, there's some amps out there, I've listened to some very nice amps that make quite a bit of noise, and you don't want to turn it on and off with your headphones. And so that did jump out at me, that I can turn this on and off while wearing my headphones without any noise. And even Ifi recommends turning the volume to 0 before you plug your headphones in and out, and I pretty much do that anyway all the time. You know, I've reviewed a lot of amps, and some amps strongly recommend that. You can damage some amps by plugging single-ended plugs in and out with the volume up while listening to your headphones. So anyway, so far I've listened to this with 3 different headphones. The Olo S4R that I'm reviewing right now. The Hi-Fi Man HE560 is sort of a power test. That's my go-to headphone to test the power output of an amp. And then the LSA HP2, which is an extremely detailed headphone, and very good sounding. It was my headphone of the year for 2020, and that's been primarily what I've used. And so far what I'm hearing is a very well balanced sound, very clean, very detailed, and I'm not hearing not disappointed at all with the sound. But I'm gonna take a few weeks, listen to this some more, and try to dig a little bit deeper into the sound of this amp. But until then, no complaints at all about the sound, and no lack of power at all. This thing seems to have enough power for just about anything. I'm gonna take a couple weeks. I'm gonna come back and, like I said, dig a little deeper into sound, and also try to compare this to a couple other amps. I will compare it to the Zen DAC, the amp in the Zen DAC, and so far it seems like they sound pretty much the same. This just has quite a bit more power with the 2 extra gain settings. I've got the Topping A50S coming in next week, so I'm going to try to compare it to that a little bit. And then I've got the Burson Playmate 2 that just came in a couple days ago, and I'll try to compare it to that a little bit. But so until then, I'm going to wrap this up. This is just a first impressions, and I'll be back in probably about 2 or 3 weeks with my full review. Try to dig in a little deeper, especially into the sound. So I'm going to wrap this up now. Once again, this is William from the Headphone Experience. If this video has helped you, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you are all welcome to join us at the Headphone Experience on Facebook. We are up to almost 10,000 members. I hope to see you all there. And once again, thanks for watching my video.